Cancellations are when you combine two algorithms or sets of moves in a way that lets you get rid of some of the moves in the middle, and it saves moves overall. In this video, I'm going to show you a few ways to use cancellations in F2L. First of all, a great way to notice cancellations is to write out the moves we're going to be doing in notation. Here's a very simple example. The first thing we need to do is insert this cross edge with R prime, F, R. We'll call that algorithm A. And then we want to insert this F2L pair into the back right slot here, and we can do that with R prime, U prime, R. And we'll call that algorithm B. Notice how when it's written out, these algorithms combine to be 6 moves. Now let's look at the notation where the two algs are next to each other. Notice that alg A ends with an R, and alg B starts with an R prime. When you do R and then R prime, nothing changes on the cube, and since nothing changes, we can remove those two moves from the algs altogether. Now we have a 4-move algorithm. R prime, F, U prime, R. Will this do the same thing as alg A and alg B put together? Let's test it out. R prime, F, U prime, R. And yes, it did. We have our crosspiece inserted and we have our pair solved. We just saved 2 moves by canceling. In general, the rule for when you can cancel is that when you write out the algs, you'll have certain moves to end alg A, and then you'll have the inverse of those moves to start alg B. The inverse means that you have the same moves, but in the opposite order and the direction is reversed, meaning that the inverse of R prime, F, R, F prime is F, R prime, F prime, R. Probably the most common case of cancellations in F2L is by using R2s in between F2L pairs. This requires some look ahead, of course, but it's not hard at all. For this case, for example, you have this pair into the back with R prime, U prime, R, and then this pair into the front with R, U prime, R prime immediately afterward. There aren't any inverses next to each other that we can get rid of, but we can combine the R at the end of the first pair with the R at the beginning of the second pair. That means that the whole solution would be R prime, U prime, R2, U prime, R prime, which saves 1 move over before. As an example of canceling multiple moves, let's look at this last slot case. Obviously, we can insert the F2L pair with R, U prime, R prime, and then that leaves us with soon for OLL. But look closely at the moves there. We inserted the pair with R, U prime, R prime, and soon starts with R, U, R prime. Those two are inverses, which means that we can take them out. When we do that, we're left with U, R, U2, R prime, which inserts the pair and solves OLL. This winter variation case is actually just a cancellation into soon. It's quite rare to cancel that many moves in F2L alone, but there is a lot of cool stuff that you can do. Let me show you some of my favorite cases. This case requires good look ahead to pull off, but it feels really nice. The first thing to notice here is this blue and red F2L pair that goes into the back. That's simple enough, but now look at the pieces that make up the blue and orange F2L pair, which are right here and right here. I'd like you to try and picture where those two pieces will end up once we've solved the blue and red pair. Clearly, the edge won't move, and because of the way that we're going to insert the pair, we're going to end up with an F2L case that looks like this, with white on top and the edge flipped in its slot. Do you guys remember how to solve this case? If you don't, here's a little refresher in neat F2L algs. What you do from this angle is you do a sledgehammer, and then you have a pair that you can insert with R, U prime, R prime. So let's go through the whole routine again. Let's write out the algs and see what we can find. The whole sequence goes R prime, U prime, R prime, F, R, F prime, R, U prime, R prime. Once again, we have an R immediately followed by an R prime. Let's get rid of those and then do the sequence again. R prime, U prime, F, R, F prime, R, U prime, R prime. And there we go. We solved both of our pairs with 2 fewer moves. Amazingly, that's not the only way to cancel moves with sledgehammer like that. There's another case that works in a similar way because there's another way to connect an F2L pair with sledgehammer. When you have a case like this, you can do a sledgehammer to connect the pair and then insert it with U, R, U prime, R prime, or another sledgehammer. Let's apply that to the same setup we had for the last case. So once again, we're going to start inserting this pair, and then instead of doing the last R, we're going to start by canceling into the sledgehammer, and then insert the pair. And as you can see, it still works, and it cancels 2 moves. If you can look ahead into this, it can be very useful because it actually saves a cube rotation as well over the normal way of doing that pair. There is one more case I'd like to show you in this video. It doesn't technically follow the rules I set earlier for what counts as a cancellation, but I'm counting it anyway, and this is my favorite cancellation trick that I know. If you have 2 F2L pairs in these positions, you may be inclined to solve the connected pair first with R, U prime, R prime. That leaves you with this F2L case for your last pair, and you can solve it by doing R, U2, R prime to set up the pair, R prime, U prime, R to insert it, and then R, U prime, R prime to reinsert the front right pair. If you were trying to follow the traditional cancellation rules here, what you would do is notice that you have an R prime and then an R and just get rid of those. But that leaves you with a solution that starts off with R, U prime, U2, R prime, which doesn't feel right. So let's see what else we can find. In all of the previous cases I've shown, we've had some moves and then their inverse, which means that combining them has no net effect on the cube, which lets us remove them. In this case, let's see what the net effect of doing R, U prime, R prime, R, U2, R prime is. As you can see, doing all of that is the same as doing R, U, R prime. So let's replace all of that junk at the beginning of the solution with just R, U, R prime, and while we're at it, let's combine those cases with 2 R moves in a row into R2s, and now our final solution is R, U, R2, U prime, R2, U prime, R prime, which is way fewer moves than what we started with. Another way of looking at this same case is that all you're doing is inserting the disconnected pair before the connected one. Doing things along those lines can be helpful in many cases, and if you want to see more of them, check out my video on the topic, which is linked in the description and in the card in the top right. So that was my crash course in cancellations. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe, leave a like, and share the video with your friends. I would really appreciate it if you did any of those things. And if you have any other cancellation tricks to share, please tell me about them in the comments. I'd love to learn about what you guys have thought of. So thank you for watching, I'll see you guys next time, and I hope you have a wonderful day. This is Brody, signing out.